ideas of what God was like as a result. Their mind become dark and confused.
Thank you, Michael. Great job. Great job. Every one of you knows somebody like this. Here's how it goes. You believe in Jesus Christ? Yeah, I used to. Yeah, maybe. Why don't you believe in Jesus? What do you usually get? You get this smile. Don't you? You ignorant plowboy. You really believe that stuff? They knew God, but they wouldn't worship Him as God or even give Him thanks. You ungrateful person. Have you ever done something for somebody, a child maybe, and expected at least a thank you? And you got nothing? How'd that make you feel? What do you think God thinks of us as created beings that won't worship Him, that won't give Him thanks, that don't even believe His Word is true? You see why we're starting here this morning. We must start with God, our authority, God the Father. And as a result, their minds become dark and confused. I know this brilliant kid in Chicago. He's going to be a doctor. We're driving down the field on the highway headed to York. And we look out at the field and there's male and female seed corn. And I explained, well, that's what creates a hybrid. F1 and F2 make a hybrid. And I said, isn't it wonderful? I mean, you see God's blessing all around. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, I see science. And if my daughter wasn't in the car, it could have got over. But you see, we are fooled into believing how smart we are. As a result, their minds become dark and confused. The Holman Standard Version says this: their thinking became worthless in their minds, and they're dark. This is the beginning of the gospel. You either believe God created you or He didn't. And if He didn't, heaven forbid. That's why we're here this morning. Let's go on. Look at verse 22. It gets better. Claiming to be wise, they instead became utter fools. Well, the Bible can't all be true. Do you really think the whole world was flooded? We had a little girl this summer tell us, well, the dinosaurs became extinct because a big meteor hit the earth. And she was rock solid. And I said, where's the mediator now? I don't know. Why is it true? Because they taught us that in school. You either believe it God's way or the other way. The other way has dire consequences. The gospel begins with the authentication of God as our Creator, who loves us, who created us, verse 23. And instead of worshiping the glorious, ever-loving, ever-living God, they worship idols made to look like mere people and birds and animals and reptiles. Now, granted, not too many of us have reptiles and bird idols in our house. Right, Kevin? You're clean. You got them. They're gone. Okay. I haven't picked on him for a long time. He feels like I don't love him anymore. What is the idol we do worship? There it is. We worship ourselves. Look at the way that verse reads. They worship idols made to look like mere people. Boy, does my religion ever take a turn for the better if I write it? I can do whatever I want because God and I have this deal. And you go right back to the judge and the jewelry thief. That is the heart of the gospel. We either worship an ever-living God or we worship an idol, which is usually ourselves. That's the way it is, people. Remember when JFK, I believe it was 1961, it's the speech where he promises in 10 years we'll put a man on the moon. And he said that famous line, ask not what your country can do for you, but what? Can you imagine if you said that today? They would laugh at you, Al. That's exactly right. It's what you can do for me. And I'm not picking on one party, it's everybody. What can you do for me? What can you do for me? And our founding fathers who gave their lives, back to it. The heart of the gospel is Jesus Christ, given to us by God. For God so loved the world. Let's finish up. Verse 24 and 25. Here's the result of the unbelief. So God abandoned them to do whatever their shameful things their hearts desire. And as a result, they did vile and degrading things with each other's bodies. We know what that's talking about. We don't need to go any further. They traded the truth of God for a lie. Rebecca and I were at this fancy restaurant where we stayed. They gave us a voucher to go in there. It's the only way they let me in. And we found out this fantastic deal from 2:30 to 5. It was half price. So me and all my cheapskate friends were there from 2:30 to 5. Okay? And it was really good food. We're sitting there, and someone walks in, and I'm not going to get specific about this, but just use your imagination. We're in Colorado, okay? In flamboyant defiance of how she was made. And she swooped in and she wanted the whole world to know who she was. And let's just say it probably wasn't the way God designed her. And it was repulsive. And she made a point to let everybody know about her. And she swooshed by, and it was hard. You see, we're not being judgmental when you say you either believe in Jesus Christ and God or you don't. That's what the Word tells us. You either believe the truth about God or the lie. Well, the truth about God makes me change my lifestyle, makes me live for Him instead of myself. That's why we're in the gospel this morning. God abandoned them. Where does God abandon people in eternity? In hell. Yeah, we're going to say it because it's there. Were you ever lost as a child? My parents used to take me to big department stores, and all of a sudden they were gone. And I didn't hear that. And there was a panic. If you've ever been lost, you know that feeling. People, you have no idea what it's like to be abandoned by God. None. What was the most painful thing Jesus Christ endured for you on the cross? Why have you forsaken him? His Father abandoned him for your sins. It's plain and white. Black and white, right there. They traded their truth for God for a lie. And you can talk to them and you can beg to them, and usually they get smirky and they get defensive and they get this either, who are you to judge me? You don't know my heart. All of this stuff. And at that point, stop and pray for them and just keep praying for them. Some of us have family, some of us have dear friends that way. We're in the gospel so that we can understand it better. And we start by understanding this week with God the Father. I want to close with a quote. The man's name is Gary Gilbert, a friend of mine. Tim Horty, some of you met him. He's been here. He's the guy that set Donnie's tether pole out here. He wrote a book on the gospel. Here's what he says. Listen close. I'm going to read it slow. Here's what he says. He's talking about what Paul just talked to us about in Romans. Paul indicts humanity. They have sinned by not honoring and thanking God. It is our obligation as people created and owned by God, to give Him the honor and glory that is due to Him, and to live and speak and act and think in a way that recognizes and acknowledges His authority over us. We are made by Him. We are owned by Him. We are dependent upon Him, and therefore we are accountable to Him. That is the perfect place for us to stop today for the gospel. You were made to glorify Him. Act accountable to Him, your Creator. Amen.